Hi guys, Aeronaut here. 2nd of January 2026. Happy New Year, everybody. And why don't we start the year as we mean to go on by looking at what's happening with the Bitcoin price action. I think I'm catching this at quite a good time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this flag just so I can show you what's happening right now. If I can remember how to use TradingView. Okay, so this is a daily chart of Bitcoin, which goes back all the way to around about October, well, anywhere between July and October 2023. So it's quite a substantial line of support, this yellow line that we're looking at the bottom here. There's a yellow line across the top, and between the two of them they're forming what's known in technical analysis as an ascending broadening wedge. Now, we have been supported by this wedge since 2023 here, and again we've touched it in September 2024 and in late October 2024, and then finally we've touched it and broken through it in around about November, the back end of November 2025. So it's a pretty substantial line of support. Now these patterns, these ascending broadening wedges, they are traditionally and statistically even, they are bearish patterns, and what you would expect to see is you'd expect to see this pattern run up like this, bounce between the lines of support and resistance, tail off a little bit, and then eventually break down. And the breakdown wouldn't necessarily occur exactly like that. What it would potentially occur like is we would go something like this, and then we break down, and then we come back up, retest this line as resistance, where we're getting pushed down by the line, and head back down to somewhere around the lower part of the wedge, which unfortunately lies at around 33,000 if you're being very particular about it. Now what I would suggest is that probably, and I think if I showed you a different chart you would see a number of support levels kicking around about the 76,000 mark and somewhere between 50 and 60,000. So that's where I think we're going to probably wind up going over the course of the next 18 months, I'm going to say, because I am a proponent of the extended cycle, which I'll talk about in another video. But for now, let's just keep doing our analysis of this ascending broadening wedge. So we're still on the daily time frame, and what you can see is happening right now is, if I zoom right in, is our big daily candle of the day is once again trying to break back through this line of what was support and now turned resistance. So it's now pushing us down. So our green candle here, what we're looking to see is how this candle closes at the end of the day. Now what we're looking to see is whether we're going to get rejected, in which case it will look something like this, where we've got our line of support and we've got our candle which is currently attacking it like this, and piercing through. And what we'd expect to see at the end of the day is, for when the daily candle closes, is for the candle to look something like this, probably with a wick above, in which case this line would have rejected this candle, and then tomorrow what we would be looking to see is for a candle to close somewhere down here with a close below this line, and that would give us confirmation of a continued breakdown. So our probabilities at that point would suggest that we are potentially going to come back down and retest the bottom of what is the next pattern, which is relevant at this current point in time, which is if we start to look on a more microscopic scale, what we can see is that we've got a bear flag which is formed, and if I draw the flagpole, which comes down to around about here, and then if I draw the parallel, which is forming our flag. Let's line up nicely with the lower lines. So yeah, we can see we've got a traditional, again, very, very clear technical analysis style bear flag, hockey stick, whatever you want to call it. And our current price action is until we break this line, so until we see a candle close below here and then see another candle confirm that we've closed below it, we can assume that we are going to trade within this candle, within this flag. So what we're going to expect to see is for this price action that's happened here, which has done this and is currently doing this, is to do something like hit the center line, come back, find this long-standing yellow line of support as support once again, and potentially head back up to the top of this flag again, which would take us up to the 100,000 mark. And just for out of not coincidence but correlation, and a confirmation signal is our 200-day moving average could potentially do this and converge with this upper line of the bear flag, which would provide us with a natural point of breakdown, and then it looks like a more healthy flag. Bear in mind, however, so that is a potential scenario that we kind of chop around inside this flag over the next week or so, maybe a couple of weeks, and head back up towards somewhere between around the 97 and 102 mark, and then get a rejection and see this bear flag play out to its potential final target of around, as we discussed earlier, around about the 60 to 70,000 mark, which would tie in nicely with the traditional 4-year cycle and the expected bear market that we are currently in, according to that school of thought. And so what we'd expect to do in a bear market for Bitcoin, if you've never been in, if this is your first cycle, is we'd expect to see a breakdown like this, come down and test the previous all-time high of the last bull market, which would be around about the 70,000 mark. And there are a number of lines of support, if I showed you a different chart, which kind of correlate with that as a potential outcome. But for now, what we're trying to ascertain is, if we're holding Bitcoin, are we going to hold on to it? Are we going to hold on to all of it, or are we going to maybe try and sell some of it at this point here? Or if we get a clear rejection here, so that we can take advantage of a dump down of what's going to be something like 25%, enabling us to buy more Bitcoin with the same money at a lower price, which makes sense, doesn't it? We can reduce our average cost of our Bitcoin portfolio, for example, by selling 35% up here or up here, and then buying back in with that 35% down here, hence reducing or averaging out the cost of the cost that we paid for our Bitcoin that sits in our entire portfolio. So that is the situation we're currently in, and what we're looking for specifically right now is, in fact, if I put that flag back, what we're looking for specifically right now is for us to confirm here whether or not, as we said earlier, that this candle, this green candle, is either going to confirm above, up here, or below this line. So really it's just a sit back and wait kind of approach. You could, if you're kind of looking at this and thinking, well, that's a pretty long term, pretty strong line of resistance that we're banging our head against at the moment, and decide to take a little bit off of the table and then wait and see what happens at the end of today into tomorrow. My favourite approach right now is that until we break this line here with a candle below and then a confirmation candle below that, showing that we're going to head down this way, that I'm going to sit and do nothing. Now the other thing that we need to think about is how are we going to approach this scenario where we potentially make our way up to here, because we are inside quite a distinct bear flag, and what we should be thinking about is, in fact I've overextended that on this particular occasion. Let's move that. Let's move that down to there. So what we're looking to do is to decide how we're gonna make an exit, or are we potentially going to go into a short. So if we were going into a short, what we would start to do is, as we approach this line, we would start building our short, say in 10% increments. So if you decided that you were going to, say, do £1,000 or $1,000 short of Bitcoin when it hits somewhere around this zone, then you'd start averaging in your short at somewhere around about say 97,000 at say 10%, and then incrementally build it with the potential for it to go above this line, because they do like to take out people that are short. So you save some of your potential position so that you can really maximize the level of your entry point for your short position, on the basis that you're going to come back down with a sell target of somewhere around about here, because until it breaks this line, you've just got to assume that it's going to continue within this parallel channel. So that's where we are right now with Bitcoin. It's a waiting game. If you're a hodler, you can just keep an eye on it and live in hope that we're going to see a little bit more upside. Not that it really matters to you right now. If you're a trader, then potentially you're looking for a short there or a short here. And if you just hold spot and you really want to maximize the potential of your money, then you could look at selling some of it here or here and buying back in down here. And that's it for today. And I will be back with probably an update on SUI, which is one of my larger positions, tomorrow. See you then.